Welcome back to Mission of the Chosen. Today we trace your hidden rescue, why you feel isolated, how God pre-builds arcs, and the exact steps to recognize and enter your protection. You're not imagining it. Before the storm breaks, God maps an exit route. Long before headlines shake the world, He is whispering your name in halls you cannot see, arranging a rescue you cannot yet understand. You've felt that weight in your chest at 3 a.m., the ache you can't name, the fear that money, health, or hope might run out. You've looked in the mirror and wondered, what happened to the person I used to be? Hear me. You are not abandoned. You are being positioned. They didn't tell you this part. The late-night tremor in your spirit is not your mind playing tricks. It is the Father's hand on your shoulder, saying gently, get ready. Think of a parent walking a child along a busy street. The car comes fast. Explanations come later. First comes the pull to safety. That tug you feel, that sudden loss of appetite for noise, gossip, and endless scrolling is not weakness, it's guidance. Your soul senses pressure in the atmosphere the way animals sense an earthquake before it hits. Amos 3-7 says, surely the Lord God does nothing unless He reveals His secret to His servants, the prophets. But you don't need a title to hear a warning, you only need to be His. If these words ring like a bell in your ribcage, if something inside answers yes, then understand, you're not crazy, you're called. And called ones are prepared before they are revealed. Remember Noah. People laughed at an ark on dry ground until the first drop. Then obedience looked like genius. God wasn't just building a boat. He was hiding a man in plain sight, training his hands, thickening his faith, and timing every plank to meet a future rain. The same pattern moves through Scripture. Elijah by the brook, told to hide, fed by ravens while the land starved. Daniel in a den where lions forgot how to bite. What looked like isolation became incubation. What looked like danger became promotion. Over and over, God covers what He intends to crown. Right now, many of you feel smaller, fewer invitations, quieter phones, weekends that used to fill now go unplanned. You've called it loneliness. Heaven calls it shelter. Psalm 91 doesn't say, he who visits the secret place, but he who dwells. The secret place is not a location, it's a posture. The quieter your outer life, the clearer your inner hearing. Not punishment protection, not exile alignment. Let's name the fear under the noise. You worry you've missed it, that you're late to your own life, that doors you prayed for opened for others and not for you. Breathe. In God's economy, the clock bows. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. 2 Peter 3-8. The one who made time is not managed by it. He restores years. Joel 2:25. Not merely feelings about years. A single moment of encounter rewrites decades of depletion. The storm can't cancel what God scheduled. It can only usher it in on a different wind. You ask, if He loves me, why all these closed doors? Consider another rescue pattern. Lot hesitated. Angels took his hand. Genesis 19:16. Heaven will sometimes answer your prayer by removing what your heart can't let go. A job that ended, a relationship that unraveled, a deal that died. What you named rejection may have been extraction. There are rooms you didn't enter because warfare waited behind them. Mercy shut the latch. This is why the fatigue has felt so strange. Many call it age or burnout. Some call it sadness. But listen closely. Surgery requires anesthesia. The great physician has you on his table rewiring reflexes, softening scars, cauterizing old lies so you don't flinch when he presses where it used to hurt. You feel distant not because you're broken, but because He's breaking what broke you. Ezekiel 36-26 promises a new heart, not a patched one. Healing is not cosmetic, it is creative. So what do you do while you're hidden? You participate. Revelation invites response. Whisper it with me now, 3 simple syllables that reframe the room you're in. I'm ready. Don't just think it. Even a whisper counts. Write it in your notes. Let it echo in the chest where fear used to live. I'm ready. Readiness is not a mood, it's a decision. Readiness looks like a small obedience repeated without applause. Readiness sounds like prayer that keeps breathing when the words feel dry. Readiness feels like deleting what dulls your discernment so you can hear the next instruction. And yes, a brief word from my heart. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel, whether by watching, sharing, or giving. If the platform ever feels oversubscribed or notifications act strange, don't worry about the buttons. Your presence and prayers carry this message further than any algorithm can. I'm genuinely grateful you're here. Here's the part many avoid because it asks something of us. Preparation will sometimes offend convenience. A mother bird covers her young before the rain, not after. You feel a nudge to wake earlier, to read what you've been postponing, to forgive what you've been rehearsing, to set aside something you enjoy so you can strengthen something you need. These adjustments are not punishments, they're proof an arc is near. You're not late, you're early enough to build. Now picture this. While the world argues about causes, heaven prepares outcomes. Blueprints are already drafted with your name in the margin. Your arc may not look religious. It might be a habit, a boundary, a partnership, a skill you're called to sharpen, a place you're called to leave, a room you're called to enter. Don't expect wood and nails. Expect instructions and peace. Peace is the signature on God's plans. Say it out loud. Declare what your atmosphere needs to hear. I am in God's ark. Again, with more air in your lungs. I am in God's ark. One more time, firm and clear. I am in God's ark. Feel the shift? That's not theatrics. That's alignment. Heaven recognizes the sound of faith and calibrates the path beneath your feet. And if you still wonder whether you were overlooked, consider this. Hidden and forgotten are not the same word. Hidden is strategic. Forgotten is accidental. Your hiding has purpose stamped on it. People may not see you right now. That's fine. Ravens know your address. Favor knows your schedule. Provision knows your route. When the rain starts, you won't need to sprint. You'll step into what you already prepared. Before we close this first movement, look back for a moment. Can you remember the last time your spirit whispered, "Something's coming"? Not dread direction. Write that moment down. Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? Your memory is a map. God rarely moves us without leaving small breadcrumbs of mercy and meaning. Follow them, and you'll notice every no guarded a larger yes, every pause protected stamina for the sprint you're about to make. Here's how we'll proceed from here. I will keep unfolding the rescue you've sensed, one layer at a time. Why detours multiplied, why quiet grew loud, why exits appeared where walls used to be. But for now, settle this inside. The storm can rage without, it does not command within. You are covered, you are concealed, you are not late, not lost, not lesser. You are early, escorted, and essential. If this message vibrates in your bones, breathe a thank you to the one who placed you here at this exact minute. Not 1 second of your listening is wasted. Not one tear goes uncounted. Not one prayer disappears into the ceiling. When heaven wants to move a person, he first moves their attention. Yours is awake. Keep it awake. Are you ready to walk from information into participation? To trade panic for preparation, noise for instruction, hurry for holiness? Then meet me in the next part. The blueprint gets specific. The doors become visible, and the hand that tugged you from the curb begins to lead you down a safer street. Until then, stand tall in your hiding. It is not small, it is sacred. And when you feel the old loneliness knocking, answer with the truth. I am not alone, I am covered. The ark isn't coming. I'm already standing at its door. Think back on the times you thought you failed, that application denied, that friendship dissolved, that relationship you poured yourself into, only for it to collapse like sand. You cried, "Why me, God?" But what if every no was a hidden yes? What if each rejection was an invisible hand pulling you out of a burning building you didn't know was on fire? Heaven calls it extraction. We often call it heartbreak, but sometimes God loves you too much to let you walk into a trap. Lot hesitated in Sodom, and the angels didn't wait for him to decide. They grabbed his hand. That same urgent mercy has been working behind the scenes in your life. The doors that slammed shut didn't close because you lacked value, they closed because danger was waiting on the other side. You thought you were abandoned, but you were rescued. The truth is, every canceled plan and every unanswered prayer was a shield in disguise. A company that laid you off was already sinking. A friend who left you was planning betrayal long before you knew. A deal that fell through would have chained you to years of regret. What hurt you actually spared you. And while you've been staring at the closed doors, you missed something crucial. God is already opening new ones in silence. You won't need to beg them to open. They will open like automatic doors, sensing who you are without you even touching the handle. But here's the challenge. You must stop mourning what God removed long enough to notice what He's preparing. It's painful to watch the familiar fade. People you counted on for decades suddenly go quiet. Places that once held joy now feel hollow. The silence isn't punishment, it's pruning. Jesus said in John 15:2, "Every branch that bears fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit." Pruning is cutting, and cutting hurts, but pruning also makes room for more. The truth you may not want to hear is this: not everyone is meant to cross into your next season. Some voices would drown out the instructions you need to hear. Some hands would hold you back when you need to run. Some hearts were never aligned with yours to begin with. God's hand removed them before they could distract you from your arc. So instead of asking, "Why did they leave?" ask, "Who is God sending?" Instead of mourning what ended, thank Him for what survived. Because those who remain in your life now aren't there by accident, they are there by divine appointment. Your circle is not shrinking, it's being purified. And yet, I know the ache that lingers. You sit in quiet evenings wondering why the phone doesn't ring, why invitations don't come. It feels like exile, but it's actually incubation. You're not forgotten in this silence. You're being reformed. The stillness around you is the perfect environment for revelation to reach you without distortion. Chosen one, here's the question that changes everything. Will you keep fighting to reopen the doors God has already shut, or will you trust that the silence itself is His answer? Because the shaking has already started, and those who cling to the past will be swept into its collapse. But those who accept divine detachment will find themselves lighter, freer, more prepared to move at heaven's speed. The question is, are you willing to let go of what is fading, to make room for what is forming? Every storm begins quietly, a faint shift in the air, a tremor beneath the surface. Most ignore it, but you've felt it. That heaviness in your chest that no sleep can erase, that restless stirring you can't quite name. It is not weakness, it is warning. Right now, as you sit in this stillness, heaven is moving behind the curtain. Angels are shifting pieces you can't yet see, rerouting your steps before danger arrives. What you thought was delay has been divine choreography. That rejection letter, that closed opportunity, that sudden ending, it wasn't failure, it was extraction. God didn't just say no, He pulled you out of a war zone you never knew you'd entered. Look back. Remember the job you lost. Later, you found out the company collapsed. Remember the person who walked out of your life. Months later, you realized their loyalty was never real. You thought you were abandoned, but in truth you were escorted out. Just as Lot's family was yanked from Sodom before the fire fell, you were pulled from what would have burned you alive. And here's the part that unsettles many. You don't get to vote on your own extraction. God doesn't wait for your permission when danger is near. He acts. He intervenes. That's why so many of your plans have unraveled without explanation. They weren't ruined, they were intercepted. Every disappointment was a rescue in disguise. It feels harsh in the moment, like being torn from a place you wanted to stay, but later you see the mercy in the disruption. And if you listen closely, you'll realize the very pattern of your pain has been protection all along. Yet, there's something deeper here. Extraction is not just about saving you from danger, it's about positioning you for destiny. Closed doors aren't just exits, they are redirections toward a place of purpose. That's why the very things that once devastated you are the same things that later defined you. God wastes nothing. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. Each step looked like rejection, but every step was really redirection toward the throne. If Joseph had stayed in his father's house, he would never have sat in Pharaoh's palace. What looked like loss was really leverage. This is your pattern too, the heartbreak that left you gasping, the failure that left you ashamed, the door that left you stunned. None of it was wasted. It was all rearrangement. You're being escorted to higher ground, whether you see it or not. But here's the warning. The timing matters. Noah couldn't delay entering the ark. If he had hesitated, the waters would have caught him outside. Extraction requires response. You can't cling to what God is cutting away and expect to walk into safety. You have to let go. So ask yourself, what door am I still trying to pry open that God already sealed? What name am I still whispering at night that heaven already removed from my path? What dream am I still clinging to that is no longer aligned with my destiny? Release it, because clinging to what God has ended keeps you locked outside your ark, and the rain will not wait for you to change your mind. Right now, God is whispering, trust the removal, trust the silence, trust the redirection. The extraction is already underway. And when the storm fully breaks, you'll realize you weren't abandoned, you were rescued. The storm doesn't announce itself with clarity. It creeps in through headlines, arguments, small changes that feel harmless until the pressure builds into something undeniable. And while most of the world is busy arguing about the noise, heaven is quietly preparing those who will listen. You've noticed it, haven't you? That sudden lack of interest in things that once consumed you. The endless scrolling feels hollow. The drama of other people's lives doesn't hold your attention anymore. Even conversations that used to excite you now leave you drained. That is not boredom, it's detachment. God is pulling your spirit out of distraction so He can anchor you in safety. Detachment feels lonely because it shrinks your world. But don't confuse smaller with weaker. A branch is always cut back before it bears more fruit. The silence around you is not abandonment, it is concentration. God is focusing you. He is tuning out static so you can catch the signal of His voice more clearly than ever before. And here's the secret. The very loneliness you're resenting is the womb of your revelation. When Noah built the ark, he didn't do it surrounded by crowds cheering him on. He did it in ridicule, in isolation, in years of daily work with nothing but faith as his applause. What people called madness was, in fact, the incubation of salvation. Look at your own life. The canceled gatherings, the invitations that stopped coming, the friends who faded, the calls that dried up. You called it rejection, but heaven calls it refinement. God has been clearing your circle because what's ahead requires voices that align, not voices that distract. This detachment also explains why doors that once opened easily now stay closed. Opportunities that used to appear now vanish. It's not that you've lost favor, it's that your favor has shifted. The doors that once served you are no longer assigned to you. God is rerouting your path to align with what He is building for you next. Think of Elijah by the brook Cherith. God told him, hide yourself. He wasn't being punished, he was being protected. While famine spread across the land, Elijah ate from heaven's delivery system twice a day. The hiding place became the supply line. That's what's happening to you. While others chase after noise, your provision is waiting in your quiet. But detachment doesn't just protect its positions. Daniel in the lion's den didn't escape the lions. He entered their den and found supernatural safety. The very place meant for his destruction became the stage for his promotion. And that's what's coming for you. The place you feared would break you will soon be the very place God reveals you. It's not easy to embrace detachment because the human heart longs for connection. You ache when people drift, when your world grows quiet. But remember this, empty rooms echo more clearly, and it is in those echoes that God's whisper becomes unmistakable. So don't waste this season mourning what's gone. Lean into the stillness. Let the silence become your teacher, because the very ache you feel is proof that God is reshaping you. And when the shaking intensifies as it will, you'll be grateful you learned how to find peace in solitude. You'll be grateful you trusted the pruning instead of clinging to branches that couldn't sustain the weight of your future. Every ending is making space for a beginning. Every detachment is proof of deeper preparation, and every silence is a signal that heaven is near. Your ark is not built of wood and nails. It isn't something you can touch with your hands or photograph with your phone. It's a sanctuary God has been constructing in the unseen, designed exactly for you. And while others scramble for answers in places that collapse, you are being led into a shelter that cannot be shaken. This is why the world around you feels unfamiliar. Systems are cracking, the economy trembles, nature itself seems restless. But you are not called to live in panic, you are called to live in the ark. The same way Noah entered before the rain, you are being guided into a place of safety before the chaos crests. And here's the startling truth. You're not late. You haven't missed it. Every prayer you whispered, every tear you hid, every night you fought through without answers, they've all been bricks in this invisible refuge. What feels like delay has been construction. What feels like emptiness has been foundation laying. God is weaving a shelter so tailored to you that even your fears fit perfectly inside it, only to be dissolved once you enter. The ark is not a location, it's a posture. It's the decision to stay hidden under God's shadow even when the noise outside tempts you to run. Psalm 91:1 says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Notice it doesn't say visit, it says dwell. To dwell is to remain. To stay rooted, not running in and out with every storm cloud. That pull you've been feeling to step back from drama, to stay silent instead of arguing, to turn down opportunities that don't align, that's your spirit being guided into the ark. You don't need everyone's approval to enter. You don't need the world to understand. Noah didn't wait for the crowd's applause. He obeyed the blueprint. You're doing the same without even realizing it. But here's what you must know. The ark is not just for protection, it's for preservation. It's where God keeps alive what would otherwise die. Your joy, your peace, your hope, your calling. The storm may roar, but it cannot drown what God hides. And when the waters recede, you won't emerge broken, you'll emerge ready to build again. Think of Moses, hidden in a basket while the decree of death swept through Egypt. That basket was his ark. A small, fragile-looking thing to human eyes, but divinely engineered to float where others sank. That's what's happening to you. What feels small, fragile, and unseen is actually your lifeline, crafted by heaven itself. And this is why you've been feeling an unusual kind of peace in the middle of your exhaustion. The pull to withdraw isn't depression, it's direction. You are being drawn away from noise so you can enter silence that saves. Don't fight it. The ark isn't punishment, it's promise. So whisper it now, with conviction, I am in God's ark. Say it again. Let your spirit anchor itself in the truth. The storm will rage, but it will not touch you. Floods may rise, but they will not breach the door of your hiding place. Winds may howl, but they will not tear down what God Himself has built for you. This is your Noah moment, your exodus, your divine extraction, and while the world panics outside, you will remain under the shadow of the Almighty, hidden and held until the waters pass. Time is the thief you feared most, not enemies, not storms, not even failure time. You look back and wonder if the best years slipped through your fingers, if opportunities you once had are gone forever. You replay what you could have done differently, the moments you wish you could reclaim, and the whisper that haunts you most says, it's too late. But what if I told you that time bends in God's hands, that the years you think are wasted are not wasted at all, they are being rewritten? 2 Peter 3-8 reminds us, with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. That means God is not managed by clocks or calendars. He rules time itself. Moses was 80 when his calling came. Abraham nearly 100 when the promise finally breathed life. Sarah laughed at timing, but still held her child. Delay to us is divine timing to God. And right now, the very decades you feel have slipped away are the exact ones God is about to redeem. Joel 2:25 doesn't say He will comfort you for lost years. It says, I will restore the years the locust has eaten. Not replace, not compensate, restore. That means the time itself, not just the memories. The laughter you thought was gone, the joy you thought was buried, the strength you thought had faded. He is returning them, pressed down, running over. This is why you've felt that strange stirring lately, that sense that something massive is shifting. You can't explain it, but deep down you know you haven't missed your moment. Your destiny is not behind you, it's being accelerated toward you. Dreams you buried are resurfacing, prayers you forgot are circling back with answers attached. And here's the shock. What would have taken years will happen in moments, because when God restores time, He multiplies it. One encounter can collapse decades of pain. One divine appointment can unlock what you thought was permanently locked away. In God's economy, there are no wasted seasons, only preparation. Even your exhaustion carries a secret. That bone-deep tiredness you've been dragging around. You've called it aging, depression, weariness. But in truth, it is spiritual anesthesia. The great physician has you on His table, performing surgery while you sleep in His presence. He is cutting away wounds you couldn't cut out yourself, repairing what you didn't even know was broken, stitching together what life tried to tear apart. That's why you feel disconnected. That's why you feel caught between here and there, half awake, half asleep. Nothing is wrong. Everything is being made right. You're not falling apart, you're being rebuilt. From the cellular level up, God is reversing damage, restoring hope, renewing energy. Ezekiel 36:26 says, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. Not a patched one, not repaired new. You're not broken, you're under construction. And when you wake fully from this season, you won't just be healed, you'll be unrecognizable to the darkness that tried to destroy you. This is why the clock feels different. Hours blur, days stretch, months vanish. Heaven is bending time around your destiny, fast-tracking what once crawled, delaying what would have destroyed. Don't fear the ticking of the clock. God is the keeper of your timeline, and His timing is always perfect. So whisper it, let it echo into the places where regret has lived too long. God is resetting my time. Say it again until your bones believe it. God is resetting my time. The years are not gone, they are being restored. Detachment is one of the hardest lessons to accept. You don't mind storms as much as you mind silence. You don't mind change as much as you mind losing people. Yet this is the very place God begins His deeper work, not in addition, but in subtraction. Have you noticed it? Friends you've walked with for years, suddenly distant. Conversations that once flowed, now feel strained. Invitations that used to come easily, now stop. It feels like the shrinking of your world, but in truth, it is the sharpening of your path. Jesus said in John 15:2, every branch that bears fruit He prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Notice He doesn't prune dead branches, He prunes living ones, fruitful ones. That means your loss isn't proof of failure, it's proof of growth. God removes what is alive but not aligned, so that what remains can flourish. Think about the patterns. The friend who always pulled you into drama gone. The relative who drained you every time they called faded away. The relationship you gave everything to, yet it only left you empty, cut off. You thought you were abandoned, but you were being refined. The doors closing were not rejection, they were rescue. Yet the ache is real. Detachment leaves silence, and silence feels like punishment. But silence is where God speaks loudest. Noah didn't build the ark with cheering crowds. He built it with ridicule echoing around him. It was misunderstood until the rain fell. You, too, may feel misunderstood right now. But the misunderstanding is proof you're building something only God revealed to you. Here's what you need to know. Not everyone can enter your ark. If they stayed, they would distract. If they walked with you, they would slow you down. If they kept speaking, their words would drown out the whisper you need most. That's why God removes without asking your permission, because some voices aren't meant to survive the storm with you. You've been mourning endings that were really beginnings, crying over doors that were never assigned to open, fighting for relationships God Himself ended. Beloved, stop fighting heaven's decisions. Instead of asking, why did they leave? Begin asking, who is coming? Instead of resenting the pruning, begin thanking God for what remains. Because the ones still here, the few who didn't fade, are not accidental. They are divine appointments. They are part of the ark. And in the silence, in the smaller circle, you'll notice something powerful. Clarity, peace, space, for God to plant new connections that strengthen instead of drain you. The shrinking isn't destruction, it's purification. Your circle is not being emptied, it's being purified of every weight that would drown you in rising waters. And when the shaking grows louder, you'll thank God you learned to walk lighter. So when the phone doesn't ring, when the door doesn't open, when the faces fade, remind yourself, this is not punishment, this is preparation. Heaven is clearing space. And the question becomes, will you resist the pruning, or will you embrace it as proof that fruit is coming? You've carried the weight of being hidden, misunderstood, even overlooked. But now the picture sharpens. You weren't cast aside, you were preserved. Every closed door, every silent season, every empty room was God writing your protection plan in invisible ink. This is why your spirit has felt restless. You're not broken, you're being prepared, and what you thought was delay was really strategy. God didn't forget you. He tucked you away like a scroll sealed until the appointed time, and that appointed time is opening right now. But let's face it, this isn't easy. Silence wears you down. Watching others rise while you're still waiting tests your faith. And yes, even here, oversubscription tries to drown voices like this one, burying light under algorithms and noise. Yet you found your way here, which means heaven made sure you did. Nothing can block what was meant for you. The storm is no longer approaching, it's here. But instead of fear, let this truth anchor you. Your arc is finished. Your escape route is ready. You've been feeling the pull away from distraction because the door is about to shut, and once it does, the floodwaters cannot touch you. This isn't about survival, it's about revelation. The same way Noah stepped out of the ark into a world reset, you are stepping into a chapter where old limits no longer bind you. The reset isn't just external, it's internal. Your time is restored, your strength is renewed, your hope is alive again. And here's what they don't want you to know. Being hidden was never about punishment. It was heaven's way of keeping you untainted, untouched, unbroken until the right moment. When the shaking increases and others stumble, you will rise not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you stayed under his shadow. So speak it now, louder than fear, firmer than doubt. I am in God's ark. Say it until your bones believe it. The waters will not consume me, the winds will not uproot me. I am covered. This is your moment of revelation. Not information, not inspiration, revelation. And revelation demands participation. So don't just hear this and move on. Write it down. Whisper it out loud. Carry it in your heart. I'm ready. Because the storm is real, but so is your shelter. The shaking will spread, but so will your safety. And when you emerge from this hidden place, you won't just survive. You'll shine as proof that God's hand was on you all along.